All right, today we're going to dive into a totally game-changing productivity method from Brian Tracy's huge bestseller, Eat That Frog. If you've been looking for a real, proven way to stop procrastinating and finally get more of the important stuff done, well, you are in the right place.
You know the feeling, right? You're just swamped. You've got work, you've got personal stuff, a constant flood of emails, and projects just keep piling up. It feels like you're constantly paddling just to keep your head above water, but you never actually get caught up. So Brian Tracy kicks things off with a dose of reality that's actually weirdly incredibly freeing. He just says, forget about it. You will never, ever be totally caught up. New tasks are just going to keep on coming, kind of like waves in the ocean. The goal isn't to have an empty to-do list. The real goal is something else entirely.
So if getting everything done is basically impossible, what are you supposed to do? Well, this is where the brilliant and, let's be honest, kind of weird metaphor of this book comes into play. You don't have to do everything, but you can get control of your time in your life. And the way you do that is by learning how to eat that frog. Okay, let's start with the real heart of the issue here in Section 1, the procrastination problem. We're going to look at why just being busy is a totally different thing from actually being effective. Man, this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Tracy points out this trap that so many of us fall into. We confuse activity with accomplishment. We fill up our days with stuff, motion, meetings, but it doesn't lead to real results. He says failure to execute is one of the biggest problems we face. And that leads us right into the central idea. Section 2, the Eat That Frog philosophy. So let's unpack what this strange phrase is all about and why it's the surprising secret to getting so much more done. And here it is, the quote that started it all. It's an analogy, of course, a pretty memorable one. The idea is actually super simple. If you tackle your biggest, hardest, most ugliest task first thing in the morning, well, the rest of your day is going to feel like a cakewalk by comparison. You've already gotten the worst part over with. Now, this is absolutely crucial. Your frog isn't just any old difficult task. It is your single most important task. You know the one? It's that item on your list that you keep avoiding, but it's also the one that could have the biggest positive impact on your life and your results right now. So this really highlights the choice we face every single day. We can spend our time on tadpoles, the small, easy, low-impact tasks that make us feel productive but don't really move the needle. Or we can focus on the frog, that one high-impact task that truly makes a difference. And guess what? High performers, they always focus on the frog. Okay, so let's get practical. Section 3 covers Step 1. Find your frog. How do you even figure out what your most important task is when there's so much noise? Well, it all starts with absolute clarity. Check out this statistic from the book. It is absolutely staggering. A tiny 3% of adults have clear, written goals. And get this, that tiny group accomplishes 5 to 10 times more than literally everyone else. You just can't find your frog if you don't even know what you're aiming for. And this connects perfectly to the famous 80-20 rule, sometimes called the Pareto principle. You've probably heard of it. It basically says that 20% of what you do will account for 80% of your results. So for example, 20% of your customers might bring in 80% of your business. Your frog is always hiding in that vital 20%. So to find that vital 20%, that frog, you just have to ask yourself this one simple question. Your most important tasks are defined by their long-term consequences. Thinking about the future impact of what you're doing, that is the real secret to setting your priorities for today. Okay, so once you've figured out what your frog is, what's next? Well, now we're in Section 4, Step 2, plan your attack. Because the prep work you do before you start is just as critical as actually doing the work. The return on investment for planning is just massive. I love this. According to the 10-90 rule, that first 10% of your time that you spend planning can save you up to 90% of the time it takes to actually do the job. Think about that. Just 10 or 12 minutes of planning can save you almost 2 hours later on. It's incredible. The practical way to do this is really simple. Always work from a list. Tracy suggests having a few different kinds: a master list, a monthly list, a weekly list that all feed into your daily list. And here's the pro tip. Make your daily list the night before. That way, your subconscious can get to work on it while you sleep, and you wake up ready to hit the ground running. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. Section 5, Step 3, Master the Menu. This is all about making the tough choices on what to focus on, and, just as important, what you're going to ignore. This leads to such a powerful idea: creative procrastination. Think about it. Since you can't do everything, you have to procrastinate on something. High performers just make a conscious choice to procrastinate on the low-value tasks, the tadpoles. They deliberately decide what not to do, which frees up all this time for the stuff that really matters. The ABCDE method is a super tactical way to put this into practice every single day. You just go down your daily to-do list and label every single item. A items are your must-do frogs. B items are your should-do tadpoles. C's are things that are nice to do. D's you delegate, and E's you just eliminate altogether.
And here it is. This is the absolute core discipline of the entire system. You have to burn this into your brain. You must never do a B task when an A task is still sitting there. You have to resist the temptation to do the easy little tadpole task until your biggest, ugliest frog, your A1 task, is completely done.
All right, let's bring this all home in Section 6, your first frog. We're going to turn all this theory into a simple, actionable exercise you can use to take control of your day, like tomorrow.
You know, this whole system can really be boiled down to this one single powerful question. At any moment of any day, you can just stop, take a breath, and ask yourself, what is the most valuable use of my time right now? And whatever the answer to that question is, that's always your frog.
So here is your challenge, and this is taken straight from the book. Tonight, before you go to bed, take out a clean sheet of paper. Write down 10 goals you want to accomplish in the next year or so. Then, look at that list and circle the one single goal that would have the greatest positive impact on your life if you achieved it. That's it. That is your most important frog. Now make a plan to take the very first action on that goal first thing tomorrow morning.
And we'll leave you with this final thought from Goethe, which just perfectly sums up the whole spirit of this method. You know, so often the hardest part is just getting started. So the only question left for you is, what frog are you going to eat tomorrow?